first legend is that she is the ghost of a young woman who was brutally killed and died so horribly that her spirit is left to wander the world watching her family and loved ones, warning them when a violent death is imminent. This particular type of banshee appears as an old woman in rags with dirty grey hair, long fingernails and sharp-pointed rotten teeth. Her eyes are blood red and filled with so much hatred and sorrow that to look into them will cause instant death. The banshee's mouth is permanently open as she emits a long and painful scream to torture the souls of the living. According to legend, there are a few banshees that relish in taking a life and will stalk their victim wailing and screaming at them to the point that the victim goes insane or dies. It has been told that the banshee has ripped many a brave man to death with her bare hands. This is the type of banshee portrayed in Hollywood horror films. Here in Ireland, we have a much less gory view of the banshee. She does attach herself to families, usually with an O or a Mick, in the surnames such as O'Brien or McNeil, and she does indeed foretell a death in the family. The banshee does not bring death, but warns that death is near, and this gives the family a chance to prepare, and it is not necessarily a violent death. It may be of a family member that has lived to 106 years of age. She is there as an escort to ensure that the loved one passes safely to the other side. Stories have been passed down through generations of families of O's and Micks, of their personal experiences with their own banshee, and my family are no different. I remember being told of an uncle who was walking home one cold, blustery night, probably 3 sheets to the wind after partaking of a snifter to keep the cold out, and on arriving home told my grandmother that he had tried to comfort an old woman, dressed in black with a veil over her face. He was crying and wailing outside the house, but every time he went over to her she moved away and kept pointing at the house. My grandmother knew straight away what this old lady represented and sent my uncle to bed, telling him she would have a look. Needless to say, she didn't dare look herself. 3 days later, my grandmother's brother died peacefully in his sleep. As children, we used to plague my uncle to recount the story of the night he tried to invite the banshee in for tea. The banshee may sometimes only be heard keening, an Irish word used to describe the wailing that women used to do over the body of a deceased person to ward off evil spirits. But when the banshee decides to appear, she may take the form of the following: an old woman dressed in black with long grey hair and covering her face with a veil. An old woman with long white hair, red eyes and dressed in a green dress. A deathly pale woman with long red hair dressed in a white dress, sometimes a shroud. A beautiful woman wearing a shroud. A beautiful woman with silver white hair wearing a long shimmering silver dress. A headless woman, naked from the waist up and carrying a bowl of blood. Of course, no one wishes a visit from a banshee, no matter how alluring she is, but she does serve a purpose to the family by letting them know that they should start making preparations for a traditional funeral. The coach of Bowyer is based in Irish folklore. It is also called the Death Coach, or Costa Bowyer. It is said to be a very large black coach that is pulled by 6 black horses. Depending on the version you read, the horses are sometimes headless and sometimes not. The driver of this death coach is said to be the Dullahan. Dullahans are headless. Although the Dullahan has no head upon its shoulders, he carries it with him, either on the saddle brow of his horse or upraised in his right hand. The head is the colour and texture of stale dough or mouldy cheese, and quite smooth. A hideous, idiotic grin splits the face from ear to ear, and the eyes, which are small and black, dart about like malignant flies. The entire head glows with the phosphorescence of decaying matter, and the creature may use it as a lantern to guide its way along the darkened laneways of the Irish countryside. Wherever the Dullahan stops, a mortal dies. The Coachabire is sometimes also seen with the Banshee. Although the Banshee belongs with a specific family, the Dullahan does not, and can call upon anyone from any family. His calls, however, are not warnings to the family. They are the names of the souls he is calling for, or the name of the person who is about to die. There is no real defence against the Dullahan, because he is Death's herald. However, an artifact made of gold may frighten him away, for Dullahans appear to have an irrational fear of this precious metal. Again, this legend changes slightly depending on the version you read. Some say that if you hear the coach, it will go rumbling to your door, and if you open it, according to Croker, a basin of blood will be thrown in your face. Another version of the legend comes from a story that a lady personally retells her experience with the Coachabire. She says, "They say that it is the devil himself who drives it, and that the horses that pull it are all headless, but that no mortal eye can see it as it goes past. 3 raps on the window are a sure sign that death is in a house, but if the coach only stops at a door, then it is a signal that there will be a lasting sickness in that place." That is what I heard anyway. Although this is based in folklore, it is a legend that is widely known and wildly feared. No matter what country set omens you look at, you will find the same thing, that most people both fear and respect the omen for what it represents: death. I don't know of any other word that can bring to mind so many different images and thoughts. Why are we interested in these stories? Why do we watch for these ancient signs? Why do so many people still believe in the old ways and the old superstitions, especially when it comes to death? I believe the answer is simple. As humans, we fear what we do not know. We fear what is inevitable. We fear what we have no control over, and in the end, that is what death is. The inevitable, unknown, uncontrollable journey that all of us will travel at some point. Hey guys, if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. You can also leave a comment below. All feedback, good or otherwise, is always appreciated. If you have any creepy stories of your own, or of any topics that you would like me to cover, feel free to send them in via any of my social media. You can find all links to my social media in the description below. Until next time guys, make sure you lock your doors, stay safe, and I'll see you next video.